Welcome to a SpearHead Milsim tactics, techniques, and procedures video. In this video, we are going to go over the two most common infantry formations used at the fire team level. There are many other formations, but for this video, we will be focusing on the team wedge and the team column. For the wedge, there are four characteristics of the wedge that you need to know. Permits good control, provides all-around security, the formation is flexible, and fire is adequate in all directions. In this example, there's a fire team who is in a wedge and they're moving towards the top of your screen. Their sectors of fire are annotated by the dashed lines. Upon contact, the three closest team members will engage while the furthest team member moves either to the left or to the right of the group of three. This then puts the team online with each other, and the team leader can then either initiate buddy rushing or dictate that his team become the base of fire for an adjacent unit to maneuver. Now for the column, there are three characteristics that you need to know. Permits rapid controlled movement, favors fire maneuver to the flanks. However, it is vulnerable to fire from the front and provides the least amount of fire to the front. In this example, the team is in a column walking towards the top of your screen. The sectors of fire are annotated by the dashed lines. One thing to note is that everyone takes 3 to 5 paces, turn to face the flank that they are on, and then continues turning until they are looking to the rear of the formation, ensuring no one is being left behind or that there is no enemy coming up from the rear. They then return to facing the front and repeat this process until the movement is over. However, upon contact, if it is either from the front or from the rear, the individuals furthest away will have to move to the outer flanks of the column to get on line with the individuals closest. This is to clear up the sectors and avoid blue on blue. Now the difference here is if the contact is coming from the flank, the individuals opposite of the side the contact is coming from, they will immediately push and move to fill the gap between the closest ones that are engaged. Something to note is that when conducting dismounted movements parallel to the main body, if you are the fire team, you need to adopt certain formations based on the terrain, the speed, and self-protection levels. In open terrain, a wedge formation is usually the best. In heavily wooded terrain or linear terrain features, the team might use a column formation. It all depends on the circumstances you're in, and as always, the situation will dictate. In this next demonstration, you'll see a staggered column of a squad on the MSR, the main supply route. They will be moving from the left of your screen to the right of your screen alongside MSR. They will receive contact from their left flank at 50 meters or more, meaning it is a far ambush. From here, the closest engaged unit will become the base of fire, while the furthest unit and the least engaged unit will become that maneuver element. As you can see here, that team on the left is starting to do what's called close the gate, while that team closest to contact at the base of the tree line is going to be the base of fire. The base of fire needs to pick up their rates of fire in order to gain that fire superiority and suppress the enemy. As they suppress the enemy, that maneuver element will begin their sweep left to right. As you just heard over the radio, inherently, they will start to cut off friendlies from the base of fire. When that happens, you must then shift your fires in the same direction that the maneuver element is sweeping. And in this instance, that is left to right, so you would shift your fires to the right as you slowly get cut off. The reason why you're doing this is you want to avoid blue on blue response. So anytime that you see friendlies in front of your muzzle, you must then move your muzzle in a direction that is no longer a threat to friendlies. Now, the few ways that you can do this to communicate is a radio, you could use pyrotechnics, you can use hand and arm signals. At the end of the day, you just need to have some sort of way or plan to communicate the maneuver element and the base of fire element accordingly. As you can see here, the base of fire element is still shooting, and that maneuver element is attempting to stay on line as best they can. You do not want to outpace your own teammates or your own squad. As the squad starts to continue that gate closure, you're going to notice that some enemies might try and escape, whether it be to the right of your screen or to the top of your screen. That is where this L shape really comes into play because you have them in a cordon, meaning no one gets in it, no one gets out. If someone tried to run to the right of your screen, the base of fire element can hit them. If someone tries to run towards the top of your screen, that maneuver element will hit them. At this point, the squad is consolidated. They're giving ACE reports, ammo, casualties, and equipment reports, and then they're going to break down based on the squad leader's orders. In this instance, we're going to see what happens during contact front from a staggered column. Contact front from a staggered column, like we saw earlier in the video, has the least amount of guns in the fight, same with contact rear. So what has to happen if you follow the mouse movements here is if you are on the left flank or the right flank, based on what side you are on, you are then going to move up and to that same flank to the furthest of the formation on the side that you are on. That comes off as confusing, but think about it like this. If the guy in front of you goes left, you are also going left, but you're going to be the furthest left individual until the person behind you then gets to your left. If you are on the right, you run up straight behind the guy that's in front of you who's also on the right, except when you get up to the front, you're going to go to the right of him, making you the furthest right individual until the person behind you sets up to your right, so on and so forth. Same thing happens when you get contact rear. Everyone finally gets online, and what's going to happen is you're going to see team 1 in the green, team 2 in the green, and then team 3 in the green. So left to right, teams 1, 2, and 3. In this instance, Tip is the squad leader, and he issues the command that they are going to flank with the furthest right team being team 3. He will call out what's known as action right. When he says action right, you will then see that furthest right team begin to flank and maneuver. Similar to what we saw in the previous clip where they closed the gate, instead of a much more closing of a gate and a more linear formation, you're going to see that right side team book it as fast as they can using the terrain to cover and conceal their movement as best as they can until they get within a range to throw a hand grenade. So what you see now is 2 enemy units holding the trench. They are then going to initiate contact onto the squad currently set up online. In real world or in reality, they would not already be online. They would receive contact and then get to this point, but for training purposes, we're breaking this down by the numbers. Contact initiates, action right. Teams 1 and 2 on the left and center begin their base of fire. Team 3 begins moving to the right to flank as best as they can. Again, teams 1 and 2 being the base of fire should have their rates pretty high. This would be like a 1 every 2, 1 every 3 kind of rate of fire, meaning 1 round every 2 seconds or 1 round every 3 seconds. HE race is also applicable here if you have grenade launchers or some sort of rockets that can engage the trench system or the enemy bunker. Here you see that third fire team doing the action right, using the tree line again as their cover and concealment to get to a point where they can get with hand grenade range. As they begin to get closer, they're going to start using visual and audible cues to locate the entrance of the trench or where the entry of the trench that they are going to make. They slowly begin to creep up. They will begin the process of prepping a frag grenade and getting ready to throw it. Once they throw it and the frag grenade goes off, they're going to do something called exploiting. The frag grenade just went off. They must now exploit, using the shock and awe of the frag grenade as the advantage to get in the trench with speed, surprise, and violence of action. Here they go, getting online. As you can see, they're already dumping bodies. They begin to move. You see a little bit of blue on blue here. This is why it's imperative that you stay online, like I said earlier. And then they will begin to take the trench. This is where over comms, something should have been said along the lines of maneuver team entering the trench from right to left. The base of fire should recognize, and they will then either cut their fires or shift their fires based on what they see or what is communicated. Team 3 is still clearing the trench line, doing dead checks, killing anyone that's trying to hide. Now, if they are in the trench and they are facing to the north, they have cut off that base of fire team, so they have to provide their own security to the north. They're going to clear it out. The base of fire team is going to then break down, and they're going to consolidate with the maneuver element and then get those ace reports. Now, at this point, the squad leader can either send a squad in a different direction or to do a different task based on the situation. The most dangerous part of any military operation are the transition periods. And this is what this is. This is what you're seeing right now. The transition between we went on the offensive, we are now transitioning to essentially a hasty defense
in this trench line. What you don't want to do is stay here. Reason why you don't want to stay here is the enemy will more than likely have their own defensive positions plotted and recorded. And if you were the enemy and you knew you're about to be overrun, you would probably call in a broken arrow or some sort of indirect fire asset on your own position because you know the people you're fighting are probably going to be there. So from here, quickly get your ace reports, ammo, casualties, and equipment, and then quickly get out of there, radio up the situation to hire, and continue on your patrol or RTB based on your tasking and what is at your disposal if you have anything left or if you need ammo, etc., etc. Squad leader's probably getting his ace reports right now. Take some time because you have to have everyone roger up. He has to do the math in his head, how many magazines of 5.56 he has, or whatever weapon systems he has with him. He has to now determine, is this enough for me to continue my mission? More than likely decides that it is worth continuing the mission, so he's going to tell his squad to get back on the road, assume a staggered column, and continue the patrol. How they break down is going to be up to the squad leader, and it looks like they are just breaking down left to right, moving to the road.
The next formation we're going to go over is going to be a squad size element where you have 3 teams of 3 and a squad leader. So in open terrain, we said before, you probably want to use the wedge. Now, how do you do that at a larger scale? Well, you do what's called a squad wedge, team wedge, meaning you have 3 smaller triangles creating one big triangle. And so as they are moving forward, they're maintaining this triangle-like formation. If you can tell, you see the 3 small triangles, at least the points of each triangle, and it makes up the 3 other points of the bigger triangle with the squad leader in the middle. Now, this is if you have 3 people in a fire team and 3 fire teams. Normally, at least for the Marine Corps, it would be 4 people and 4 fire teams. And so you would have another diamond. As you can see here, they're continuing to move. You must match the lead fire team's rate of march. If the lead fire team is moving pretty fast, guess what? The rest of the fire teams need to move pretty fast. If they're going slow, guess what? You need to move slow. The squad leader will also dictate a lot of the formation characteristics based on the terrain. As they continue, they're going to maintain this formation. That way, in open terrain, if they were to take contact, they have the most guns in the fight as possible while maintaining an organized fashion. Next, and for the rest of the video, what we did was we essentially did a little bit of role play and practical application. The squad's mission was to just do a contact patrol looking for enemy combatants. As we go through this clip, I'm going to narrate kind of what we're looking at here and do a little bit of explanation so that way that clears up any sort of confusion if there is any for people that are watching and don't quite understand. Not saying that everything that was done here is perfect. That's not what we're trying to showcase here. What we're trying to showcase here is the human factor and how people will react with the knowledge that they have based on the tactics that they were taught. So again, take this with a grain of salt. It's not going to be perfect for all those keyboard warriors out there and perfect tacticians who know everything about everything. Just watch it, take it in for what you can. Whatever you do learn, put it in your back pocket, and hey, maybe you have a suggestion, or maybe you have an idea, or for training. By all means, join the Milsim, join the Discord, hop in on the trainings, have fun with it. It's a great place to just hang out with the guys and just learn some stuff. So they're using obviously the column, the staggered column more specifically, walking down this MSR, main supply route. Their mission essentially was to go visit the town of Laroons and then push north. They're on their way to the town of Laroons currently. They're in a staggered column, keeping, I would argue, a little too close of dispersion. I would have probably pushed them out a little bit more in terms of length of dispersion, not necessarily width. And as I start to go down there, as the GM, I'm looking for places where I can have a good ambush to really test that reaction to contact. I'm trying to see if I can delete the fences time before they pass and go too far. I need to get them the rep at getting contact. So we're going to grab a fire team. We're going to throw it in some bushes, and we're going to initiate contact on their right flank. So we're going to see here is we're going to see them react to a far ambush. They do a good job calling out the contact. As you can see with the tracers, they're not really sure exactly where it's at. The squad leader does a good job at calling out who the base of fire is going to be and who the maneuver element is going to be. In this instance, it looks like that right two-man team is trying to go. One thing here that we could have done differently is push that right maneuver element further out, more perpendicular to the enemy contact. Nothing says you can't use HE to solve this problem. It's an HE race, a high explosive race. You see Sly and Jake start to close the gate a little bit here. Again, in my opinion, maybe should have gone out a little bit further to the right. It looks like the entirety of the squad is starting to close in. As long as the geometries are clear, it may not be pretty and it may not be absolutely perfect doctrinally, but it's getting the job done. All right, they do a good job communicating the blue 4 tracking. And at this point where Jake and Sly are, they should have been immediately to the left of the enemies as we're looking at it, moving left to right of your screen. That's not the case. However, the job got done. Again, not perfect, not pretty, but it got done. As long as we work towards improvement and progress, that's fine. They're ensuring that there's no other contacts maybe further out there. And remember, ACE reports go for everybody, right? So in proximity chat, if you were in the team and you're not the team leader, you tell your team leader, hey, I have 10 mags. I'm not a casualty and I have all my equipment accounted for. Or you can shorten that and say 10 mags, green, green. If you are a casualty, you could say 10 mags, yellow, green. And that instantly tells someone, oh shit, what do you mean you're not green on casualty? What's going on? And then you can say, okay, I twisted my ankle or something like that. I broke my leg. All right, they're going to get back on the road and they're going to get back in that column. And what's happening here is they're going to continue to the town of Levy. However, at this point, I haven't given them a scenario inject and told that there is an ambush waiting for them in the town of Levy. And this is where we're going to test their ability to go into the wedge formation at the fire team and squad level. I am essentially telling them that they need to move directly north at a bearing of 000 to go through the open area to a dirt road. You'll see that happen here in a second. Waiting for them to transition to that squad wedge, fire team wedge. All right, they're starting to transition. So the squad leader is utilizing the order of movement to his best ability to quickly transition. If they're already in team 1, 2, 3 order, and they're going to move to the north, team 1 can easily go to the left, team 2 bump up middle, team 3 take the right. They're already in that order. You might as well keep that order. Here, they struggled just a little bit trying to fix themselves to get into formation. This will just get better with practice and get better with time. Keep in mind, they learned all of this about 30 minutes prior to taking this video.
Team 3, hold position, hold position. Don't push up too far to Team 2. Team 3, go ahead and pull back a little bit. Alright, squad, start moving. 0-0. Copy.
Now we're going to watch them move forward. What's going to happen here is I've kind of tested them at 90-degree angled contact. I've tested them at to their 12 direct front contact. What I'm going to try and do here now is I'm going to give them at a weird 45 kind of oblique angle contact. It's not necessarily direct front, but it's not necessarily to their immediate flank.
Team 3, you're pushing too far. Go ahead and hang back a little bit.
Squad leader calls out a good call out, telling that furthest right wedge that they're moving too fast and they're gaining too much on that center team.
We're shifting left, but we're getting into town.
That team on the left just called out, hey, you guys are trying to push us into the town. Good communication, shift the formation. You can see them starting to begin that shift.
Team 1, you guys in the field? Yep, step in the field on your left. Alright, shift 0-0. Copy.
Continuing those good call outs. This is where the contact is then about to initiate. Contact initiates. Still not quite sure where the enemy is, as you can tell by the tracers. They're eventually going to narrow down where the enemy contact is coming from. They're telling Team 1 that to flank. Give a little bit depth to the enemy here. All right, teams 2 and 3 are the base of fire. Team 1 on the left of your screen is trying to book it. Again, right here, this is where it needs to be known and remembered. Suppression without movement is a waste of ammo. Movement without suppression is suicide. So as you can see here, those base of fire teams are still suppressing. They're not blowing through all their rounds. However, they're keeping up a rate of fire as such to keep the enemy's heads down or prevent them from getting accurate acquisition. There you go. Team 1 on the left is starting to really gain ground here, getting to that 90-degree offset from the enemy as best they can. That maneuver element is now starting to get into the tree line. If you didn't hear over the radio, they just called out that they have entered the tree line, letting the base of fire know.
They're calling out that shifting of fire. This maneuver element does a little bit better job of attempting to stay online with each other so they don't get blue on blue. Add in a little more friction, I think, here. Oh, it's too late. They've already gained ground. They're taking out the enemy. They're doing pretty good so far. Good call outs, good call outs. Keeping up that communication, and now they're starting to break down and go reinforce. They're moving up. Again, this is a transition period. Eyes on, head on a swivel, eyes up, gun up. they're breaking down, moving towards the friendlies that have just maneuvered on the enemy. They're going to help with whatever other tasks need to be done. Certain things like this, you need to ensure that you are looking around. So, one thing that if the enemy was smart, they would bait you in with a smaller element. And now what they would do is they would wait and they would either have a larger force waiting for you or they would just call in airstrike or artillery or mortars or something. Like I said before, once you fight through the ambush, quickly get your ace reports and get the hell out of there. Now from here, they're going to finish up their ace reports. In GM, I'm essentially letting them know that they do have a resupply available and it's going to be dropped at a location just to the east of the town of Laroons by a pond.
Team 2, wedge up on me. Let's hold security to the north.
Still working through their consolidation piece. There's the pond. And this is something that any Milsim group or anyone that wants to train, hop in GM, get yourself a little server, and then just work on tactics, techniques, and procedures. It doesn't have to be perfect, but use the time available to help out where you can.
Let's shift 010. We're gonna go through the woods. Let's keep
All right, so they finished up their consolidation. They came up with their plan. They're starting to move towards that resupply point.
You guys gotta close the gap between each other. Team squad sent us farther. Team 2, hold just a little bit. Being in these thick woods, let's try to kind of keep eyesight of each other.
So I think they're trying to attempt the squad wedge, team wedge.
Column.
Doobie recommends the column.
Copy that. Let's shift column. Team 2 front. Team 3 mid. Team 1 rear. Copy.
Quickly fixes the order of movement. So you have something in military called the FOM DOM OM, formation of movement, direction of movement, order of movement. So easy way to do that is you could say it like this: squad move north or insert whatever azimuth you want. 1, 2, and 3. So you could say squad wedge, fire team wedge, moving at a bearing of 010, teams 1, 2, and 3.
Copy.
It's that simple. There's your FOM DOM OM.
Left and right sides get a little bit more spacing.
So they do a good call here. They're too close in terms of width, meaning horizontally they're too tight. So they're essentially telling each other, hey, we need more width between the column. So the left side and the right side needs to have more distance between each other. I'm just playing around here trying to figure out how I'm going to do the supply drop. Probably, if I remember correctly, I do a quick flyby with the F-22, and then I drop that USAF supply drop to kind of simulate that they are getting a resupply.
Our objective town is to the northwest.
All right, they're calling out where the objective town is, so they're still on mission, but their concentration right now is that resupply.
Resupply at the pond.
So as they begin to push, this is where I would have recommended do a leader's recon, keeping the main body in the concealment and cover of the tree line. Maybe send out a fire team for this leader's recon. They kind of threw their whole squad out there, which again, not perfect, it ain't pretty, maybe not the best decision, but it is a decision.
Got eyes on the pond.
I think they're going to fix themselves into a staggered column here in a second. That's it. Yep, they do that. Here you go for any GMs out there or anyone trying to conduct training. Again, GM is a useful tool. Throw down that F-22 flyby, give it a few seconds, drop the supplies drop. Here it comes off to the right. Listening for that audible cue. Boom. Fly over, supply drop. Now, obviously, no F-22 is dropping a supply drop, right? But I don't have any other air platform already set that can do that in the GM toolbox right now. At least not with this mod set.
Eyes on resupply, callings 354.
One thing to note, in a hostile or contested environment, something like that is obviously going to arouse a lot of suspicion from any enemy that is in the AO, who is probably going to try and investigate, meaning you need to move quickly because now time is the priority.
Alright guys, time's priority here.
Oh, there it is. There's the call.
Resupply, get loaded up. Enemies saw this plane, they're gonna be heading this direction. Double time it.
Copy that, moving to a sprinting pace.
Team 1, swing rear every once in a while, make sure we're clear back there.
I'm shifting directly toward the smoke.
This is going to be the part of the video where I extend that invite out to everybody again. If you're not part of the SpearHead Milsim, by all means, please come join us. We're a group of guys that take the game seriously, not ourselves. You're not doing any of that yes sir, no sir stuff. Just know how to play the game decent, be a team player, have a good attitude, and then just know your role and how to employ it. And it's a good time. We goof off a lot. We play the game serious a lot. Overall, it's a great community to be a part of. Again, the Discord is in the description or in the bio. Please come hang out with us, see it for yourself. We have a bunch of servers currently on Armor or Forger. We have a partnership with the GLID gaming community. And with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead, kill the video. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, put in the comments what you think, what you would want to see in training. If you are part of the Milsim, go ahead, throw some ideas in there, or hit me up in the Discord, or hit any of the other guys in the Discord that lead the training events. If you want to be a part of this, I'm telling you, there's no gatekeeping here. If you want to be a part of this and you just want to come out and hang out with us, man, go ahead. We're not going to stop you. So we'll see you guys in the next video. We hope to see you in the next training event or the next Milsim operation.